Yo, what's happening everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Great League video. Today we're going to be showcasing an interesting team with Lantern, Talonflame and Trevenant. This is quite an interesting team that was suggested to me by somebody in the comment section, so I will put the comment on screen. Shout out to you. And I actually had quite a decent amount of success with this team. On this team we have Lantern in the lead, which is there to deal with basically Talonflames, and then we have Lantern and Trevenant in the back. So pretty much it's a very balanced team. You've got a grass, water and fire type on this team. I don't usually like running teams like this because it can get a little bit RPS if you see a grass lead. However, we did see a grass lead a couple of times, and we were able to overcome those. I think this is quite an interesting one. Trevenant's quite cool this season because Azumarill was buffed, Whiscash, Poliwrath, Skarmory, and Talonflame, right? Of course, all the water types you can completely deal with. Seed Bomb looks to one-shot all of the Mud Boys, and against Poliwrath, even with Icy Wind, you still win that matchup. Now, even against Skarmory, you win the 2-shield scenario against Skarmory, and in the zeros, you can look to go for a Shadow Ball and Farm Down. The opponent will win the zeros, of course, if they get off the move, but generally speaking, the Shadow Ball plus Shadow Claws gets them down to about 1 Shadow Claw range. So actually in a match later on, you're going to see the opponent actually got to the move but didn't even get it off because they got the Shadow Claw through. So I think with Trevenant being able to deal with all of the flyers now, you don't see any Noctowls hard. Well, actually I did see a Noctowl because this game's funny sometimes like that, but generally speaking with Noctowl gone and a lot of Lantern usage, a lot of Talonflame, a lot of Skarmory, and of course you're going to have grass types like Venusaur hunting for them, I think Trevenant actually could be low-key underrated. Let me know in the comment section down below, which OG Pokemon do you think is underrated this season? In this first game we had 2 versus 2 shields versus Poliwrath. Perfectly fine there. It takes him 6 counters to get to the Icy Wind. It's 665 for the Seed Bomb, so you do outpace. Now in this matchup right here, this is a bait dependent matchup. Pretty much Swampert has to land an EQ to take you out here. If it's a Shadow Swampert, 2 Surfs KO plus the Sparks. A non-shadow, they can live 2 surfs, but it gets them super low. The opponent goes for a Hydro Cannon bait, we do let that first one go. And at this point guys, I'm going to respect one of the moves, and we do shield up a Hydro Cannon right here. Now I'm going to go for another surf. This will pretty much guarantee the KO. And if the opponent does not go straight for Earthquake, I will get off another surf and take the opponent's final shield. We'll see what the opponent wants to do here. I think at this point the opponent should be trying to go for an Earthquake at some point, because this is non-shadow. That does not KO. If you're using Shadow Swampert, you can go straight Hydro Cannon, but non-shadow you do actually have to go for the move. The opponent's going to farm us the whole way down. Now of course at this point we're going to come in with Trevenant. We're a little bit ABI weak. The opponent comes into a Frostlass. I could go into Talonflame, however that would allow them to get off a Shadow Ball and force a shield. We're going to look to one-shot the Frostlass, and in comes a Pelipper. Looks like Trevenant's going to be sweeping this match already. Now the opponent's going to go for a Weather Ball. This would not KO, but it would get me quite low, and I do want to retain some health in Trevenant. Look to try and farm down the Swampert. Now when Swampert left, they weren't dry, so they are going to be able to get off 2 Hydro Cannons here. Also, one good thing to know about Shadow Swampert is 2 Hydro Cannons basically KO Trevenant. So if you're heading energy, you actually can win that match. In comes Talonflame. The opponent gets to another move. Does Hydro Cannon one-shot Talonflame? No, it does not. They need a Shadow Swampert to one-shot. Unlike Charizard, Talonflame can actually live a Hydro Cannon, which is kind of nice. In comes the next match, we've got a Venusaur lead. Pretty terrible lead. We do have 2 answers to grass in the back, which is kind of what's nice about this team, but the opponent clearly does not have a good answer to fire. They come in with Ninetales. This thing is going to get absolutely eviscerated. Look how much these Incinerates are doing. That Incinerate went through, so we just shield up whatever move they want to throw here. They go for a Blizzard, which is pretty insane. I was streaming these matches on YouTube, and people were pretty surprised, myself included, to see Blizzard coming into that thing, but Flame Charge coming through. We're going to look to go for a big Fly here, which of course will do a lot of damage. The opponent actually lets me get to the move. I throw on 10 turns versus 12, a little bit less optimal, but the opponent's actually building up to back-to-back moves here. Now, I'm thinking, of course, we do want to keep this Talonflame alive, so we're going to instantly swap into our Lantern, look to catch the Dark Pulse, and hopefully, between Trevenant and Talonflame, we should be able to take care of Venusaur. The Venusaur's on Razor Leaf of all things, so the good thing here is they can farm me down very, very quickly and not look to get a ton of energy. I believe it's going to take them about 10 or 11 Razor Leafs to get to the Frenzy Plant. Not quite sure on what the counts are there, to be completely honest, but we one-shot the Venusaur and back in comes Umbreon. They already dumped 2 Dark Pulses, so that's basically game over for them. Let's hop on to the next match. Even though we had a Venusaur lead, we did manage to do something with it there. Now we get the Dream lead, the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death, and in comes Azu. Ladies and gents, that is not an answer. So what we're going to look to do is go for a move. Unfortunately, the opponent did a 1-turn swap. I was throwing an 8, which would be good timing, but of course it's a little bit tricky in the swap sometimes. The opponent's going to fire off a potential Ice Beam, but they're actually on player off Hydro Pump, so I should be able to CMP them on this next move here, and like to hopefully get off a Shadow Ball in the Talonflame. These Incinerates do an absolute ton of damage, so it might be very, very close if I can get to this move or not. If it was pre-buff Incinerate, I think I definitely get to the Shadow Ball, but basically I need to live 2 Incinerates, which is not going to happen. I actually don't think I would have lived that pre-buff. In comes a Quagsire. Definitely not what I want to see. I'm going to let the opponent fire off the first move here, and we're going to look to swap into Talonflame. Now Quagsire does no Stone Edge, so this can potentially one-shot me. I think in the 2-2 shield, you can very easily call a bait here. I do decide that I want to get shields down and basically put this Quagsire in a position where I can look to one-shot it with Surf. That's pretty much the goal here. These Incinerates are absolutely chunking, these resisted Surfs. The opponent once again frozen good timing. I decide to respect the Stone Edge. If they had have baited me again, that was getting a little bit risky and a little bit tricky. But now at this point, with all the Incinerate damage, and we will actually be able to one-shot this roughly with Surf. The opponent comes into their own Talonflame. I do want to swap out of here. I'm hoping they do not go for Brave Bird. The opponent goes for Fly, which by the way is an amazing animation. We do to and fro for good timing and look to get off the Surf, which hopefully should allow us to get to another Surf on the Quagsire. The opponent's going to be forced to throw. They go for the CMP tie here on the Mud Bomb, but at this point guys, we already have the Fly loaded. Quagsire is decently bulky, but I don't think it's going to live a Fly. Let's have a look here. The Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death does one-shot it from that range, and that's a good game. I definitely love the upgrade of Fly on Talonflame. Makes it a lot more consistent. This is an absolutely horrible lead. I think Cordilla is an amazing Pokemon this season. I decide I'm going to stay in here and look to basically chip this thing down. This is the core breaker of all core breakers. I could arguably go into Talonflame straight away. I decided because I'm running like an ABC team that I'm just going to soft lose lead, but I don't actually get off the next move. I'd be in a much more comfortable position if this was just a regular Cordilla, but this is looking pretty rough. And from a Shadow, these Rock Slides are going to hit like a truck. So I kind of need to do something with Trevenant here. I'm going to shield once, let one go, but you're going to see this Rock Slide does an absolute ton. Done about 65% to my Trevenant. They come into their own Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death, and yeah, this is basically game over. That's kind of what happens with teams like this sometimes. When you're running like Grass, Fire, and Water all together, you're bound to run into RPS, right? It's pretty much inevitable that they'll have, you know, a Grass in the lead with a Fire in the back, and something that beats your other Pokemon as well. It's just inevitable. That's the bad thing about running teams like this. I think if you wanted to run this core, I think the Trevenant and Talonflame core is quite nice. And I also think the Lantern Talonflame core works as well. It's probably a lot better actually because Grass beats Lantern and Talonflame beats Grass, basically, right? So even though I don't really like teams like this, you know, it sort of does make sense. Of course, with every team you will find some core breakers, so even if you make the most perfectly sensible team, you know, you're going to get those core breakers that kind of put a lot of work into all of your Pokemon. I think if I was replaying that match, it would have been nice if it's a non-Shadow. You definitely get off 2 Surfs. The fact that it was Shadow made it a little bit awkward. I might have looked to swap into Trevenant, even though it's not a very reliable safe swap. The Sandslash usage should be quite down, and even if they come in with a Ninetales or something, if you get a few Shadow Claws ahead, you can look to get off a lot of damage. The opponent swaps into a Whiscash. We're going to look to absolutely one-shot it with Seed Bomb, and back in comes Talonflame. And guys, you're going to see once again the power of Trevenant. This is a Grass type that can beat a lot of the popular flyers, potentially, right? That Shadow Ball almost KOs it, we Shadow Claw it down, and the opponent just top lefts. So like, that's the power of Trevenant right there. If you do want to run a slightly different team, like something a little bit neutral, I think the Lantern Talonflame core is good. You could run something a little bit neutral in the middle, or I think the Trevenant Talonflame core is a little bit good. I think you do have to cover the weaknesses a little bit better for Trevenant. So you might want something that can do quite well with flyers alongside Talonflame and Trevenant. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Lantern, but I think these Pokemon can work quite well together. Now we get another core breaker. Dragons are definitely not very good for this team. We're going to stay on and whittle it down. They come into their Lantern. Even though this is a pretty bad matchup, we're getting off the Flame Charge, and with that we'll be able to boost the fly damage. And this is actually going to do quite a lot now. The opponent CMPs me, which is perfect here, which means they've got basically no energy, and they're down to like 25% health. Talonflame put in a lot of work in this matchup, even though it's pretty bad for it. So like, if you're up a shield in that match, you can certainly look to try and flip that if you want to. Trevenant coming in here, we're going to look to go for Farm Down. I'm not sure if I do shield this move or not, you know, I just let it go. Surf coming through, of course it is resisted. We do get the full Farm Down. Now what I end up doing here is going for 2 and swapping. If you don't want the Incinerate damage to apply, you do a 1 and swap. I do 1 Shadow Claw and swap, and then 2, so it actually lowered my health quite a lot, which could be a little bit vital here. Now I'm thinking here guys, my win condition is that I can get off 2 moves on Talonflame. If they need 1 more Incinerate for the move, if I can live it, I might be in a good position, but the opponent's already got a couple of Incinerates through, so it's looking a little bit tricky. They get their 3rd Incinerate through here, and that's going to be enough for them to Brave Bird, Flame Charge. A little bit unfortunate, but that's just how it goes sometimes. All in all, the match, a little bit close, but pretty RPS overall. And I think a lot of these newly buffed Pokemon are quite RPS. Now, the opponent's running a Jellicent lead, and they're actually staying in here. They're on Bubble, which is quite interesting. So the opponent's clearly ABA weak to Lantern. While streaming, we were having a conversation about the algorithm, because, you know, that topic always comes up every so often. And, you know, the one thing that I sort of want to mention to you guys is, like, if you run teams that are ABA weak to something like Lantern, which is very, very common, you certainly are going to see it, and the opponent comes into a Talonflame. So yeah, they're just completely core broken by Lantern. You probably want to run Medi in the lead in that team. I'm not too sure what this team is all about. Again, it's just kind of like free balance Pokemon. They go for the Fly. If they had Brave Bird, we'd just basically spark them down. Fly coming through, and that's what I like about Fly. You can apply that heavy damage. Look how much that does. You can apply heavy damage without the consequences of Brave Bird. Now, in comes Lantern. I can let this move go. They just have a Medicham. Fly coming through. Now, what I decided to do here is go for Thunderbolt. The opponent actually goes for, I think it's a Pop here. I decided to shield it because if they let this go, I can farm them the whole way down. We've got 1-to-1 shields. If they shield it, I can Shadow Ball. Either way, we're going to win this match. The opponent sees the writing on the wall. One Ice Punch, even though boosted, would not KO. And we basically just farm them the whole way down. Do let me know your thoughts and opinions on the new meta in the comment section down below. I certainly have seen the same sentiment that the meta seems like a little bit RPS this season. So perhaps limited metas and Ultra League would be quite a good place to go. Especially with the nerf Steelix. I think Ultra League meta will be much more healthy. Now the opponent's on Trailblaze. It's only slightly better to go for Trailblaze than it is to go for Body Slam. If you're running Gradient, one good thing to keep in mind is that the damage per energy for Body Slam and super effective Trailblaze is almost identical. So unless you're looking to ramp yourself up, you basically just go straight Body Slam anyway. So Trailblaze, cool option for Gradient, but it's not really like too game changing. Now in comes, of course, a Lantern. They actually shield up that move, which is pretty surprising. I was boosted, so like perhaps a boosted Brave Bird would do a lot. But this basically puts us in a great position. I can look to basically shield one of these moves. One Seed Bomb does not quite KO from here. Another good thing to know about Trevenant is the raw damage from Shadow Ball is better than a super effective Seed Bomb. So if I want to one-shot them here from this position, I should be going for Shadow Ball. I decide to end up going for Seed Bomb and I swap out. Bit of a misplay. I thought Seed Bomb from there would KO, to be completely honest. And back in comes Gradient. We're going to like to go for Thunderbolt. And if you guys remember, the opponent actually shielded up the first Thunderbolt. I wasn't too sure if they're weak in the back, or if they're just basically, you know, shielding everything, because sometimes players do that. We're going to shield this up. It is a Crunch, which is just not the correct play. And in comes the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death. And we're going to look to one-shot it with Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt always does more damage than Surf. However, the damage per energy is very, very similar. So each move is fine. In comes Mawile with Fire Fang. I believe they build up to 7 Fire Fangs and go for a move, which can only be a Power Punch, which is quite weird. I think at least you want to go for, you know, I don't know, Iron Head or whatever other move you have, Play Rough, whatever the case may be. We go for a Surf that KOs from 50% here, and in comes Vic. Now we do have 2 answers to Grass in the back, so that's sort of where this team does make sense, and in comes a Bastiodon. So I'm super happy I did not come into the Kentucky Fried Chicken. By the way guys, big shout out to Jimmy Finn, who came up with that name, the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death, but I do quite like it. Trevenant versus Bastiodon is not that bad for Trevenant, because the Bastiodon is very, very slow to moves. They do get the complete farm down, which is slightly annoying, but we do have a Surf loaded. Now I'm expecting the opponent to go for a Snipe here, so I'm just looking to be a little bit patient. I do one and throw, make sure I'm throwing in between the animation, and I'm just basically anticipating the swap. Yep, here it comes. We can basically eat any move off Victory Bell, and because Bastiodon is Rock and Steel, the Flame Charges will be neutral, so we actually should be able to take care of Bastiodon. The Smackdowns are going to be absolutely chunking the Bird of Death here, but yeah, we're basically chilling here. They're actually doing less than I thought they would do, and we've got the opponent down to 1 HP, so we're going to fire off the Flame Charge. If you didn't know this, guys, you can 1 HP knock out people through shields, and that's a good game. The opponent probably had a move at that point, but we also had a Surf banged on the Lantern anyway. So I suppose my lose con is that the move does not show up, which, to be honest guys, it wouldn't be the first time. Would not be the first time. By the way, everybody, if you're still at this point in the video, I forgot to mention at the start, feel free to drop a like, subscribe if you do enjoy these videos. In comes a Tentacruel, and in comes a Jumpluff. Now we come in here with the Talonflame. I don't know about this, guys. They go for the Acrobatics. I probably should just let this move go, to be completely honest with you. I was thinking it would absolutely rip me a new one, and I think I should be going for Fly here as well, because as you can see, that does not KO, and allows them to get off one more move. Now, I was a little bit, you know, I was streaming, talking to chat, a little bit not concentrated. I end up double shielding, completely unnecessary. Now, back in comes Tentacruel. The thing is, guys, we can look to force shields off the opponent. The Flies are boosted with the Flame Charge, and these will do a ton of damage. We get off 2 Flies here, and I'm thinking, like, is there any way this is double Grass? Surely not. The Fly done a lot of damage. We go for the catch, and in comes Superior. So this is looking a little bit awkward. We do still have a Trevenant. The opponent will be able to go for a huge overfarm here. 2 Thunderbolts aren't even close to KOing this thing. It's not like a Shadow Venu, where Thunderbolts actually threaten it. Superior are quite bulky, and like I said, hits like an absolute truck with these frenzies as well. The opponent insta-throws another move here. I'm hoping the opponent does go for the insta-throw. They cannot farm us down, so they're going to have to throw another move here. I do end up going for the Flame Charge. I think I should have committed to the farm down, because this will actually allow the Tentacruel to get a little bit of extra farm. I don't think I even get the Incinerate damage through, so this is looking a little bit awkward. If the opponent has Sludge Bomb or Blizzard, they might win. They go for Acid Spray, so surely we should be absolutely fine here. I go for the farm down because of course the opponent still has a shield. They're not quite on 1 HP, and Scald actually takes us out. So pretty unfortunate. I definitely could have played that match a little bit better. But good games well played, and like I said, thank you for the team suggestion. Be sure to let me know your team suggestions in the comments down below. And thanks very much everybody for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow, hopefully showcasing some more new buff Pokemon.